Today's lesson is a winter delight to savor. Hi, everybody. I'm Roger.
Hello, I'm Kiki.
And, of course, it's winter time now, or it's getting colder and colder, and we're looking for ways to keep ourselves nice and warm during the winter. Of course, here in Taiwan, one way to really warm up at the end of a long day at school or work is to have some hot pot. Are you a big fan of hot pot, Kiki?
Yes, I am, because hot pot just gives you a warm, fuzzy feeling sometimes, and it could be eaten all year round, I think. Even sometimes when it's raining during the summertime, you just feel like, oh, I want to stay inside where it's dry and have some hot pot and it feels warm and nice.
Yeah, to me, a hot pot is best consumed in the winter. I don't know if I've ever had hot pot during the summer, although people do enjoy hot pot year-round. But we're also going to be talking about something kind of similar, and that is fondue. And in today's lesson, we've got a conversation between Tracy and Lucas. And I believe Lucas is from overseas and Tracy is from Taiwan. And they're basically talking about their own particular dishes. Tracy's going to be talking about hot pot, and Lucas is going to be talking about something called cheese fondue. And they'll talk about how they're similar and how they're different. So let's get to it, everybody. Let's listen to their conversation in part 1, a dish to warm you up.
A winter delight to savor. A dish to warm you up. On a cold winter day, Lucas and Tracy talk about some delicious ways to stay warm. Brrr, it's gotten pretty chilly, hasn't it?
Definitely. Winter is really setting in.
In my family, when the cold hits like this, we always make cheese fondue. It's kind of a tradition. We gather around the table and dip things like bread and veggies into the melted cheese, and it warms us up in no time.
That sounds incredibly tasty. For my money, nothing beats a good hot pot. You know, Taiwanese people are crazy about hot pots, especially when it's cold out.
Oh yeah, I tried hot pot once recently. It was delicious.
Have you ever tried double flavor hot pot?
No, what's that?
It's the best of both worlds, spicy and mild broths in the same pot. The variety is awesome.
Sounds tasty. Want to go eat some together sometime?
I'm in. I'll make us a reservation at a great place I know. They've got the best double flavor hot pot in town.
Perfect. I'm looking forward to it already.
大家好，第一部分首先来看形容词 mild， 它的意思是口味清淡的、温和的或是轻微的。例如 The flavor of the soup was very mild, so Colin added some pepper. 这道汤味道非常淡，所以 Colin 加了一些胡椒。或者 Sarah only has a mild headache, so she still went to work. Sarah 只是有轻微的头痛，所以她还是去上班了。接下来是 reservation 这个名词，它的意思是预约、预定或是保留。我们可以说 You need to make a reservation several months in advance if you want a table at this popular restaurant. 如果你想要在这间热门的餐厅订到位子，你必须好几个月前就先预约。或者是 Please pay and confirm your purchase of the ticket in an hour or the reservation won't be kept. 请在1小时内付款并确认您购买此票，否则预定将不做保留。
Okay, it's time for us to discuss the first part of our conversation between Lucas and Tracy. The title is A Winter Delight to Savor. To savor just means to taste something and to enjoy it. And in part 1, we're talking about a dish to warm you up. And on a cold winter day, Lucas and Tracy talk about some delicious ways to stay warm, more specifically on how to stay warm by eating something. And Lucas is rubbing his hands together and he goes, brrr, it's gotten pretty chilly, hasn't it? So oftentimes when we want to emphasize the fact that it's cold outside or we feel cold, we make this sound, brrr.
Right, and he has expressed that it's gotten pretty chilly. So the weather has changed and it's starting to get a little cold. It's not completely cold yet. The word chilly, it's a little bit cold, but not too cold. So he's asking Tracy, it's gotten cold, hasn't it? And Tracy says, definitely. Winter is really setting in. So winter has come. It's really starting to settle and the temperature is going to start to get lower and it's going to start to get colder.
Exactly. So to set in this particular case just means it's establishing itself. It's becoming more common and it's not going to go away anytime soon. And Lucas says, in my family, when the cold hits like this or when it starts to get cold like this, we always make cheese fondue. What's that? Well, he says it's kind of a tradition. We gather around the table and dip things like bread and veggies into the melted cheese, and it warms us up in no time. So here Lucas has given us a definition of what cheese fondue is. Yes, it's kind of a tradition. It's a little like a tradition. And we gather around the table, maybe your friends or family, and then you dip things into the melted cheese. So when you dip something, of course, you just dunk it in that thing for a short period of time so that that item can absorb some of the smell or of the liquid or whatever, and it sticks to it, and then you eat it, and it's oh so tasty. And they dip things like bread and veggies into that melted cheese. Veggies, that's just kind of informal way to refer to vegetables.
And it warms us up in no time. So with my understanding, cheese fondue, or the ones that I've had before, sometimes they'll add a little bit of alcohol to it, like brandy or sherry or something like that to the cheese, and that will really make you feel warm a lot faster. So it's not a large amount, so children can still eat it, but that feeling of warmth will go throughout the body quite fast. And that's why in the wintertime, Lucas' family will eat cheese fondue and it will warm them up in no time. So it'll warm them up very quickly. And Tracy says that sounds incredibly tasty. So that sounds really good. That sounds really yummy. For my money, nothing beats a good hot pot. And of course, hot pot is something that's very popular here in Taiwan.
Indeed. So she says, for my money. We're not actually talking about what we're going to pay when we want to have the hot pot, but this just means that to her, according to her, she has this belief that hot pot is incredibly tasty. So nothing beats here just means nothing is better than a good hot pot. It's just what the doctor ordered. It really hits the spot on a cold winter's day. And then she goes on to say, you know, Taiwanese people are crazy about hot pots, especially when it's cold out. As we said earlier in our lesson today, yes, indeed, it's quite common during the winter for people to go to hot pot restaurants and warm up.
Lucas says, oh yeah, I tried hot pot once recently. It was delicious. So Lucas, he's obviously a foreigner and he has come to Taiwan and he tried hot pot for the first time very recently. So he really enjoyed it and he thought it was delicious. He thought it tasted very good.
And Tracy has a question here. Have you ever tried double flavor hot pot? And Lucas says, no, what's that? And I'd like to know myself because I've never heard of double flavor hot pot. Have you, Kiki?
Yes, I have. And I'm pretty sure you've had double flavored hot pot. It's basically a pot that is separated into two sections so you can have two different types of soups.
Ah, right. I've seen that before. I don't think I've actually had that before. The pot looks kind of like the Taoist symbol, right? The yin-yang symbol.
Yin-yang, right.
Kind of interesting.
And that's why in Mandarin it's called 鸳鸯锅.
All right. I thought yuan yang were like ducks or something like that, but it sounds like yin yang. But in any case here, you get the best of both worlds here. You get spicy and mild broths in the same pot, and the variety is awesome. So if you talk about the best of both worlds, basically you can enjoy two things at the same time. I could say Lionel gets the best of both worlds by working in the city and living in the country on the weekends. He can enjoy a quiet life in the country and then he can also enjoy an exciting life in the city. He gets both of those. He gets the best of both worlds.
And in this case, of course, Tracy is asking Lucas if he's ever tried double-flavored hot pot. And usually double-flavored hot pot comes with spicy and mild broths in the same pot. As we mentioned before, the pot is split into two different sections. One side has a spicy soup or sometimes a mala soup, and the other side has a mild broth, so it has a more mild flavor. So if it's mild, if something is mild, the flavor isn't very strong because the mild soup is supposed to come with other sauces.
Exactly. That's very important there. You have to know what you're doing. And yes, you get the best of both worlds. You get spicy broths and mild broths in the same pot. So that's a lot of variety. Lucas says, that sounds tasty. Want to go eat some together sometime? Sometimes we drop the word do you from the beginning of a sentence. This is very informal here. Want to go out this weekend? Want to go see a movie? Want to go eat some together sometime? And Tracy says, I'm in. I like that idea. I will participate. I'll make us a reservation at a great place I know. They've got the best double flavor hot pot in town. So sometimes, of course, if you want to make sure you get a table at a restaurant, you should make a reservation, just like you should make a reservation when you travel to a popular tourist destination and you want to make sure you get a hotel to stay in.
So Tracy knows the best place in town, and she's going to make that reservation for herself and Lucas so they can go together. And Lucas says, perfect. I'm looking forward to it already. So they haven't decided on a date yet, but Lucas is already looking forward to it. So he doesn't know when it's going to happen yet, but he's already very excited that they're going to be able to experience this double-flavored hot pot together.
And in part two, they are enjoying their hot pot together. In part two, it's a variety of broths and ingredients. Let's listen.
A variety of broths and ingredients. At the hot pot restaurant, Lucas and Tracy browse the menu as they decide what to order.
Wow, there are so many broth options. I have no idea which one to choose.
If you're into spicy flavors, you should definitely go for the mala broth. It has a unique blend of spices and fragrant herbs that give it a numbing spiciness and aromatic taste.
I do like spicy food. Okay, I'll give that a try. What about the other broth?
Well, I prefer mild flavors, so how about some Japanese kelp broth? It's light and delicate, so it should provide a nice contrast to the mala broth.
Sounds like a good combo.
Oh, and I want to order some extra taro chunks and meatballs. They go super well with both types of broth.
You know, hot pot and cheese fondue are pretty similar. They're both about sharing and enjoying a meal together, and both have this interactive aspect of cooking right at the table.
True. Both have that magical element of gathering around a big warm pot with family and friends.
第二部分要介绍的是 fragrant， 这个形容词有芳香的、气味芬芳的意思。我们可以说My garden contains a bed of fragrant roses. 我的花园里有一大片芳香的玫瑰花。又或者说 Kelly loves using scented candles to make the room fragrant. Kelly 喜欢用香氛蜡烛让房间充满香气。再来我们看到名词 herb， 也可以念成 herb， 它的意思是香草或是药草。例如I have always wanted to have a small garden so I can plant some fresh herbs for cooking. 我一直都想要一座小花园，这样就可以种些做菜用的新鲜香草。再举一个例子 In ancient times, people took herbs to cure their illnesses. 在古代，人们服用草药来治疗疾病。接下来介绍名词 chunk， 它的意思是厚块或是大块，也可以是大部分或是大量的意思。可以说Pass me that chunk of chocolate bar. My sweet tooth is acting up today. 给我那块巧克力，今天我想吃甜食了。或者 Louise spent a good chunk of her evening on the phone with her mother. Louise 晚上大部分时间都在和妈妈打电话。再来看 interactive 这个形容词，它是指互动的或是互相交流的。例如 The interactive video lets students learn more about this museum. 这部互动式影片让学生更加了解这座博物馆。或是 As a teacher, Charles is concerned about staying interactive with his students. 作为一名教师， Charles 很重视与学生之间保持互动。这边补充一个名词 interaction, I-N-T-E-R-A-C-T-I-O-N, interaction 也是互动或是相互交流的意思。例如 I can tell from the couple's interaction that they are deeply in love. 从这对情侣的互动中，我可以看出他们非常相爱。再看一个例子 Don't put these chemicals together. They may cause a fierce interaction and then explode. 不要把这些化学制品放在一起，它们可能会产生剧烈的交互作用，导致爆炸。最后我们来看到 aspect 这个名词有层面或是方面的意思。例如 The lack of money is only one aspect of the problem we're having. 缺钱只是我们所遭遇问题中的其中一个层面。最后一个例子 There are many aspects to being a student, including stress and lack of sleep, that Josh finds undesirable. 作为一个学生，有许多方面让 Josh 觉得很讨厌，像是压力和睡眠不足。
Okay, so they're at the Hot Pot restaurant now, and Lucas and Tracy browse the menu as they decide what to order. So, of course, if you go to a restaurant, the first thing you want to do is look at the menu or browse the menu. You just kind of look through it and you look at the pictures, read a few words here and there. You could browse magazines, for example, at a bookstore.
So when you browse something, sometimes you're not really looking in detail about something. You might be browsing through a store. You're just looking at what they're selling, but you're not really going into detail and seeing exactly what they're selling. So you're kind of just looking in general. So when you're browsing through the menu, you're kind of looking at what they're offering in general. And in the title, we have a variety of broths and ingredients. And ingredients are the different types of things that we put into a dish. For example, different spices or different vegetables. We'll put all these ingredients together to create something that we will eat.
Right, like mushrooms and cabbage and meat. Those are all different kinds of ingredients. And Lucas says, wow, there are so many broth options. There are a lot of different choices for different kinds of broth. And I have no idea which one to choose. He's not experienced with this, so he's not quite sure which broth to select. And Tracy says, well, if you're into spicy flavors, if you enjoy spicy flavors, you should definitely go for the mala broth. It has a unique blend of spices and fragrant herbs that give it a numbing spiciness and aromatic taste. So this is mala broth. Of course, mala is a local term, and we don't really have that term in English, so we just go ahead and say mala. I want to have some mala hot pot. And if you go for something, that's what you choose. You want to enjoy that. And she's saying that it has a unique blend of spices and fragrant herbs. Fragrant means they smell and taste really good. And herbs here, that's kind of interesting. Those are kinds of things you get from plants. And there's spices and things like that. I should note that in America, we don't pronounce the H. We say herbs and spices, but I believe in the UK, they tend to pronounce that H. They say herbs.
And of course, an herb is also a type of ingredient, and those are things that you can put into your soup. And mala, of course, is a broth that has a lot of different herbs, which includes dried chili and different types of chili and peppercorns, and that is what make up the mala broth. And of course, sometimes if you want to describe mala to your friends, your foreign friends, there's no word in English, but you can describe the sensations of what mala is. And basically, it is a numbing and spicy kind of taste and feel to your mouth.
Yep, numb just means you've lost feeling, usually in a limb or something. Oh, I sat on my hand for about 5 minutes. My hand is all numb right now. And spiciness means it's got all these different kinds of spicy flavors. And it's got this aromatic taste. It's very fragrant. It smells really good. And Lucas says, I do like spicy food. Okay, I'll give that a try. So he has selected one of the broths, and now he gets another choice here. What about the other broth? Okay, so he's going to try the mala broth, and now he needs to pick the second one for his double flavor hot pot.
Tracy says, well, I prefer mild flavors. So how about some Japanese kelp broth? Sometimes when you have two flavors, you have your mala, it's too spicy. You want to keep the other soup or the other broth a more mild type of flavor. That way, if you're eating the mala, it's getting spicier and spicier. Your mouth can't handle it. You can have your mild broth. And in this case, Tracy has suggested Japanese kelp broth. And Japanese kelp is basically a type of thick seaweed that is cooked in the soup. Sometimes we call it dashi, which is the fish flakes. You'll cook it with the kelp, and then that's the dashi broth. Okay, so that's the Japanese kelp broth. And usually this goes very well with the mala soup.
And she says it's light and delicate, so it should provide a nice contrast to the mala broth. And Lucas says, sounds like a good combo. Combo is just short for combination. And Tracy says, oh, and I want to order some extra taro chunks and meatballs. Chunks are just large pieces of things, and they go super well with both types of broth. And then as they're enjoying the hot pot, Lucas says, you know, hot pot and cheese fondue are pretty similar. They're both about sharing and enjoying a meal together. And both have this interactive aspect of cooking right at the table. If something's interactive, that means they mutually react to each other. You do something, I do something back. A conversation is interactive. I say something, you listen to it, you think of something to respond with. That's interactive. And yes, you interact with your food, you cook it yourself. And that's the aspect or the point of view or the feature of hot pot.
So when you have an interactive aspect of cooking right at the table, it becomes a fun activity that you could do with your friends and family. It's something that you're doing together. So hot pot and cheese fondue is something that you can do together with people you want to enjoy a good time with. And Tracy says, true, both have that magical element of gathering around a big warm pot with family and friends. So both of these things, they give a magical feeling, a feeling of happiness to bring everybody around this warm table.
What a great idea. I'm inspired by today's conversation to go to my nearest hot pot restaurant and have some hot pot myself with the people that I love. Okay, that brings us to the end of our discussion for today. Someone we really love is Hanny, our beloved Chinese teacher.
各位同学大家好，我是 Hanny。 我们来看今天的文法重点。在课文第一部分的对话里， Tracy 有说一句 For my money, nothing beats a good hot pot. 依我看来，没有什么比一顿美味的火锅更好的了。那么 for my money 表示说，我认为，依我看来，它的意思就等同于 in my opinion。那至于这边 nothing beats 加上名词或动名词，这个字面意思是没有事物能胜过、强过什么，那就表示什么什么是最棒的、无可匹敌，没有什么比点点点更好、更有趣的了。动词 beat 在这边就表示优于或是胜过的意思。那其实也可以用 you can't beat 再加名词或动名词的句型去表达相同语义。例如 you can't beat a good cup of coffee。没有什么比一杯好咖啡更棒的了。好，在课文第二部分的对话里 Tracy 也有说到一句 If you're into spicy flavors, you should definitely go for the mala broth. 如果你喜欢辛辣的口味，你绝对应该要选麻辣汤底。好 be into 加名词就可以表达非常喜欢什么，对什么非常感兴趣。像 I'm really into their music 就是表达我非常喜欢他们的音乐。那另外课文句子里面有用到 go for， 我们这边要补充一下 go for 的几个不同意思哦。第一个呢是像课文用法来表达选择，例如 I think I'll go for the cheeseburger， 我想我要选择 cheese 汉堡。那第二个意思是表达说喜欢被某人或某事物吸引，举例来说 I don't really go for that kind of music. 这时候就是表达我不太喜欢那种音乐。那我们也可以用 could go for something 来表达想要什么什么，这个意思就会跟 would like something 差不多。举例来说 I could go for a cup of coffee right now. 我现在想来杯咖啡。好，那么第三个呢，可以用 go for 去表达接受、同意，像是接受某个建议啊或计划等等。举例来说 We asked the vendor to give us a discount.But he wouldn't go for it. 我们要那一位摊商给个折扣，但是他不接受。好，那第四个我们可以用 go for 去表达试图得到啊，努力争取。那有一个相关的用法叫做 go for it。Go for it， 它就类似中文的这个放手一试，可以用来鼓励人去做困难的事，要对方说放手一试啊，大胆一试，努力去争取吧。好，那以上就是今天重点整理，我们回顾今天的单字吧。
Mild. My little sister prefers foods that are relatively mild. Reservation. I made us a reservation for dinner at 7 o'clock tonight. Ingredient. Fresh garlic is a key ingredient in this spaghetti sauce. Browse. Ellen was browsing through a magazine when I met her in the bookshop. Herb. Mrs. Moss grows a variety of herbs in her garden to use in her cooking. Chunk. Reuben cut a few chunks of cheese to enjoy with some fruit slices. Aspect. The most challenging aspect of the project will be meeting the tight deadline.
Well, that brings us to the end of another edition of our program, and please make sure you join us again next time. From all of us here, I am Roger.
I am Kiki.
See you next time.